We have this idea of what true horror is. Something that hides in the dark, in some abandoned house way out in the middle of nowhere. But sometimes, the most terrifying evil isn't hiding at all. It's right there at the end of your street. And everyone just pretends not to see it.
That is a powerful idea to start with.
It was right from the top of our stack of sources for today. The line that just grabs you is, evil doesn't always hide in the dark. Sometimes it lives at the end of your street, and everyone pretends not to see it.
And that really sets the stage for what we're getting into today. This is a deep dive into the Nithari killings, just a horrific series of crimes in Noida, India, between 2004 and 2006.
Right.
But this isn't just about the criminals. The sources we have, they force you to look at the whole system that allowed it to happen for so long.
Exactly. Our mission here is to unpack what the sources call a slow rot. To look at the investigation reports, the articles, and really understand how apathy and, frankly, systemic neglect turned a single house into a mass grave over several years.
It's about the silence. The silence is the real story here.
It really is. So let's start at the beginning, the place itself, Nithari.
The context of the location is it's absolutely crucial. The sources paint this picture of a small village, Nithari, that was essentially being swallowed whole by the massive high-speed expansion of Noida.
So you have this collision of worlds.
Precisely. You've got concrete and wealth literally encroaching on, poverty and makeshift homes, a really disjointed, rapidly changing landscape.
And it's against that backdrop that the disappearances start.
Yes, between 2004 and 2006. And it wasn't one big event. It was a slow, terrifying pattern, a vanishing act. More than 30 children, maybe more, just started disappearing one by one.
When you read the accounts, they're so mundane, it's chilling.
Right.
A girl goes out to buy candy and she just doesn't come home. A boy is playing near a ditch and he's just gone.
Yeah.
No drama, no ransom notes, just an absence.
And that lack of drama, you see, that's where the system's failure begins. The parents, terrified, they did what they were supposed to do. They filed first information reports, FIRs.
Which, for anyone listening who isn't familiar, that's the official document. It's supposed to legally trigger a police investigation.
It's supposed to.
Yeah.
But the response described in our source material was immediate dismissal. The reports were basically tossed aside.
With excuses.
With boilerplate excuses. The police weren't looking for children, they were looking for reasons not to look. Oh, the child ran away. It's a family dispute.
Or the big one, probably trafficking, so they're gone. Case closed.
And you have to understand who these victims were. The sources are very clear on this.
They were poor.
They were poor. They were from marginalized communities living in the shadow of all of that new wealth. And the core insight, the one that defines this whole tragedy, is that poor children don't make headlines.
Not the kind of headlines that force action.
No, they didn't have the social capital, the political pull to make the system work for them. So for 2 years, the police conducted virtually no real searches, no raids, nothing. The system, as one source puts it, simply chose not to look for them.
And that choice, that neglect, created this space for this horror to just grow.
Which brings us to the actual geography of the evil here. This wasn't happening in some dark alley. It was centered on a single address.
House number D5.
Exactly, right at the center of the village.
And it wasn't some rundown shack either. The sources describe it as this large, wealthy bungalow. It had high walls, locked gates. It was designed to keep people out.
Or to keep secrets in.
Yeah. And inside lived two men. The owner, Moninder Singh Pander, a wealthy businessman.
And his domestic help, Surinder Kohli.
So for almost 2 years, while all these children are vanishing, DeFi is just the rich guy's house. Imposing, private, and just, left alone.
Until December 2006. That's when things finally started to crack. And it wasn't because of some brilliant police work.
No, it was because the father of one of the last victims, a girl named Payal, he just refused to be silent. He pushed and pushed and pushed.
He hounded the police, he went to the media, and he kept pointing them to that one specific house.
It took that kind of desperate grassroots pressure for the police to finally, almost reluctantly, get a warrant.
And when they finally went inside D5, what they found was a crime scene that had been active for years.
Just horrific. Human remains, bones, skulls of children, all over the property.
The main discovery was in the drain behind the house, which had become choked with ground itself, the source material says, had become a mass grave.
And once that first discovery was made, the details of what was happening inside that house started to come out.
And the allegations are, well, they're almost impossible to comprehend.
Children were lured inside, often with, a piece of candy or some food.
And then sexually assaulted, murdered, and dismembered.
The sources even point to evidence of cannibalism, finding chopped human remains being cooked in the kitchen area of Coley's quarters.
It's a level of depravity that's hard to process. And it wasn't a one-time thing. The language the sources use is really important here. They call it ritualized violence.
A routine. That's the word that sticks with you. This wasn't a moment of rage. This was a process, an operation that was repeated over and over.
Which is so disturbing, and that brings us to the two suspects because they had completely different stories.
On one hand, you have Surinder Kohli, the domestic help.
He confessed again and again. The reports say he spoke calmly, just laying out the logistical details of how he trapped them, how he killed them, how he disposed of the bodies.
Just matter of fact.
So much so that the investigators were deeply disturbed just taking his statement. He became the face of the physical violence.
And then you have the other man, Maninder Singh Pander, the owner, the wealthy businessman.
And his story, complete ignorance. He claimed he knew absolutely nothing.
Nothing about the dozens of murders and dismemberments happening in and around his home for years.
And that, right there, is the central, haunting question of this entire case. It's the one that echoes through all the reports. How do dozens of children die in your house without you knowing?
It just seems impossible. And it forces you to look beyond just the two men.
Exactly. You have to ask, were they just monsters acting in a vacuum? Or was the whole system enabling them?
The sources are pretty clear on that. The focus has to shift to the bigger horror, which is the systemic complicity.
It really is. This isn't just a story about two killers. It's about an institutional failure that was so profound, it almost feels like active participation.
The list of failures is just devastating. You have police officers who took the reports and then, just filed them away? Or destroyed them?
Local officials who allegedly took bribes to ignore complaints from neighbors about the stench coming from the property.
It's a total breakdown. A system that just did not value the lives of these specific children.
And to really grasp how deep that failure goes, you have to remember the proximity. The bones, the remains, they lay undiscovered for 2 years, just meters away from police stations.
Meters? It's not like this was out in the wilderness. It was right under their noses.
They either saw it and did nothing, or they were so apathetic they didn't even bother to look.
So the conclusion from the analysis is that Nithari wasn't hidden. He was ignored.
It was ignored. The power that Pander had as a wealthy landowner, combined with the powerlessness of the victims' families, it created this protective shield around House DeFi.
A shield of apathy. If those kids had been from wealthy families, this would have been over in hours, not years.
Without a doubt. So when the truth finally did come out, the public outrage was, of course, massive.
Protests, national attention, disbelief. But outrage fades.
And justice, in this case, was incredibly slow and complicated. The initial investigation was a mess. There were allegations of mishandled evidence, political interference.
The legal process just dragged on for over a decade.
It did. Convictions would be handed down, then overturned on appeal because of some technical mistake in the prosecution. It was an agonizing legal limbo for the families.
So no real closure. The pain was just prolonged by the very system that was supposed to deliver justice.
And there's one final, just heartbreaking layer to this. The victims themselves.
Most of them were never even identified.
Never. Because of the state of the remains and how long the crimes went on, they just became numbers. Case files, not names.
There's a line in one of the sources that sums it up so painfully. It says they disappeared twice, once from their homes and once from history.
They were just erased.
So, after all of that, what's the lesson here? What do the sources want us to take away from this?
I think it boils down to something beyond the crime itself. It's a lesson about our society.
About silence.
Exactly. One of the analyses puts it so starkly, and it's something you can't forget. The most disturbing thing about Nithari is not what happened inside the house, but how long it took for anyone to care.
Because that's the real lesson, isn't it?
Yeah.
Monsters don't need the dark.
They just need silence. And in Nithari, the systems, society, everyone, they delivered that silence for years.
And that's a chilling thought. The reminder that apathy is never passive. It's an active ingredient in creating atrocity.
It is.
Well, thank you for walking us through this. It's incredibly difficult material, but it's an essential deep dive. We will be back soon with another stack of sources to unpack. Until then, stay curious, stay critical.